We're in a tier one mining jurisdiction. We're close to logistics. We've got focused teams. We're very confident for the success of GreenTech, and we're looking forward to bringing more news to market as it comes to hand.
Welcome to today's investor webinar with GreenTech Metals. I'm Danica Warburton from Investability, and I'm joined today by Executive Director Tom Reddicliffe and General Manager George Ventouras from GreenTech, and we're delighted to be able to walk you through this exciting battery metal story. The format of today's webinar will be a short company presentation, which will be followed by a Q&A. So without further ado, I'll hand over to George to share the screen and kick off the presentation.
Yeah, thanks very much, Danica, and welcome everyone. It's great to be here and great to be talking to you and to present the GreenTech story. So as Danica said, we haven't got a huge amount of time to roll through the presentation. We have released it on the ASX platform, so please feel free to grab it, have a look at it at your leisure, and later on we'll have some questions we can answer and hopefully cover everything that we need to cover. And that's of particular interest right now. So I'll just flick through a couple of slides. We've got the usual disclaimer, which I'm not going to read, but please feel free to read it. And we'll launch straight into the market information of where we are right now. So GreenTech listed on the stock exchange early last year. And we had a portfolio of assets, which Tom will talk to in due course. We've got about 70 million shares on issue, just over $4 million in the bank, with a market cap of around $30 million. We've got a really tightly held share register with really positive and supportive shareholders who believe in what we're trying to do. As you can see from the share chart, we've had a bit of a spike of late, which was driven by the lithium discovery. And again, Tom will talk to that shortly. The board of directors of GreenTech is a very well balanced, well represented board. Tom Reddicliffe is Executive Director, who covers technical capabilities, a long history of geology in and around Australia. Guy Robertson, who is an accountant and a financial guru, and he brings a lot of the financial analysis to the company. And last but not least, Rod Webster, who is a mining engineer. And so with Rod on board, we're able to tackle all aspects of an exploration company, and to also take us to the next step, hopefully towards development at some point. So a really well-rounded, very experienced board to lead this company. GreenTech Metals has a portfolio of projects in Western Australia. And as you can see from the map, we're spread from the Pilbara in the northwest right through to the Dundas project in the south. We cover a variety of battery metals, which are really important: lithium, copper, nickel, amongst others. But these are the main focus of the company at present, and which will be the focus of this presentation. So as we drill down a little bit into that West Pilbara region, you can see that we've got a variety of projects there. So we've got a little over 200 square kilometres of tenement package in that region, covering a variety of commodities. So we have, which is our most recent discovery, the Kobe Lithium project. We have our flagship asset, which was the one we listed on, the Wandoo Copper Zinc project. And then we also have the Ruthwell Nickel Copper project. And as you can see from that map just to the right, we're in an amazing jurisdiction, really. I mean, it's a tier one jurisdiction. We're only about 30, 40 kilometres from Karratha, which is a main industrial hub. We have all the logistics that it offers, from airports to transport to support facilities. And then just to the northwest of Karratha, we have the port of Dampier. So shipping, when we get down to that development phase, will be quite convenient. And in and around that region, there's a plethora of companies, a plethora of materials, commodities that are being explored for and discovered. Historically, this region was once thought as only an iron ore precinct, but as we can see from GreenTech's portfolio by itself, let alone any other companies, we have a variety of commodities. There's nickel, copper, lithium, gold, silver, PGEs, there's a huge amount of exploration activity. There's a huge amount of companies and a huge amount of interest, not just in Australia, but also globally. So we're pretty excited to be in this region. As I alluded to, lithium's probably one of the main things that we're focusing on now, due to the global focus on battery metals and in particular lithium as a supply source. And particularly in Western Australia, there's been an awful lot of M&A activity. And as you can see from these headlines, and this is only just recently, the activity that's taken place in the market for lithium stocks. Bill Beamon's gone into lithium. Gina Reinhart's looking into lithium. Azure, our neighbour to the east, only about 30 kilometres away. They are also doing deals, as well as Delta Lithium, who is talking to and has done a deal with Japan's Indomitsu. So there's a huge amount of activity, a huge amount of interest, and we're poised to take advantage of that as well with our Kobe Lithium project. I'm not going to get too in-depth in these sorts of slides because, again, this is something that I'm sure you all know and you can read about at your leisure. But the demand for lithium is growing. And from GreenTech's perspective, we're in the right market, we're in the right materials, we're in the right location. It's tier 1 jurisdiction. It's heavily pro-mining, pro-exploration, and we've got the right people to lead this company forward. So we're really excited about what the future does hold for GreenTech. So with that, and I'm going to flick to the next slide, which focuses on our Kobe Lithium project. And I'll hand across to Tom so he can talk to you a little bit more about what the project is, where it is, and what we're doing to take advantage of it. Tom.
Yeah, thanks, George. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. I'll just tell you a little bit about the various projects we're involved in, and specifically our new Kobe Lithium project. What we're seeing on the screen now is an overview of the West Pilbara mineral field. You can see our tenements there in blue. To the south, we have our Wandoo project, and only some 20-odd kilometres to the north is our lithium project. And off a little bit to the east, of course, near Roebourne is where Azure found their lithium deposit. We're not that far from there, about 30 kilometres, 25 to 30 kilometres. And you can see there, we've our discovery was off the back really of turning our focus to look for lithium opportunities on our tenements as a result of the discoveries being made by Azure over the past 6 months. And so it was a methodical approach going through our data, etc., going out into the field. And in fact, we did have found a significant pegmatite, a lithium-bearing pegmatite. And you can see there some of the grades we are getting. And in this respect, we're starting off somewhere at the same spot, I guess, exploration-wise as Azure. These deposits outcrop, and we can get rock chip samples. So we haven't done systematic work yet. As we can see on the next slide, George, we are able to get samples along the length of the pegmatite. And this is not really systematic, but getting samples where we can. It's not exposed on its entire length, but certainly we can trace it towards the western end. It tends to break up a bit, as you can see. We're not sure what that means. And but certainly there's a very persistent and consistent trend of the pegmatite and the zone heading to the east. And it's crossed several of our tenements into our JV tenement 3719. So what are we doing there? We've in the near term, we're mobilising a team this coming week to focus entirely on this project. We'll be doing more rock chipping, mapping in particular, because these things outcrop. It lends itself to that, and also soil geochemistry before as a prelude to setting up to drilling. We've lodged POWs or programs of work with the department, and these are just awaiting approval. We're not expecting any problems there. And of course, there are other heritage issues that will we have to get done before we can undertake the drilling. And again, these are routine processes that we have to go through. And importantly, we've engaged the Obsidian Metals Group, which is a lithium exploration expert team. And they are advising us and assisting us in the exploration. And going forward, they have a deep experience in lithium industry, ranging from exploration through development, etc., and the in the corporate sector. Next one, George. Now just on the in the Wandoo area, we are focused on the we're focused on the Wandoo area there. You can see there's an image showing EM anomalies. Okay, they're strung out in a northeasterly direction for a strike distance of about 2 kilometres. Now, these are VMS or volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits. They occur in clusters or nests, and we're looking at about 6 deposits there. The main ones being Wandoo, which are the ones to the southwest, or the bottom part of the screen. There are 2 established resources there at Wandoo East and Wandoo West. We're currently looking at the very large anomaly which sits underneath those deposits, which we call Austin. It appears to be a deeper discrete deposit, and we'll be looking at that in a minute. But as we go to the east, there's the Shelby deposit, which is fairly deep. Yannery, which we drilled recently, and which produced quite significant results. And further up at Asia, we have a resource there of just under 1 million tonnes of copper and zinc. Next slide, Josh. You can see there that shows the Wandoo and Austin deposits in more detail. You can see that Austin, why we're so interested in it, is a very large EM footprint. It hasn't been drilled very much at all. The anomaly itself is around 500 odd meters in diameter, compared to the smaller discrete Wandoo East and Wandoo West EM responses. They're very specific and they're at surface. Austin is a deeper deposit, and where we've intersected it is at about just over 200 meters. And more recently, when we drilled a deeper conductor there, we got an intersection closer to 19 meters, almost 20 meters at 0.8% copper, and or 15 meters at about 1% copper. These are interesting numbers, and we're hoping that they will improve with further drilling, and we hope to be testing this in the near future. Along with the copper, and there's also zinc, but we also get elevated gold credits and cobalt as well in these deposits. As you can see, there's a couple of meters there of over 1 gram gold. And next slide, George. That's there as a section, a composite section really, which shows you what's happening there. You can see Wandoo, the main deposit, Wandoo East, that is, quite thick. There's a nice intersections there, about 60 odd meters. These little open pit on it, these were previously mined, firstly in 1976 by Wim Creek Consolidated, and later by Fox Resources in 2006 and 7. And you can see there the Austin lode really extends underneath the Wandoo, in fact, and it's going deeper. And these deposits are usually not exceptionally large, but they do have thick centres to them and pancake out towards the periphery. So what we're aiming to find with Austin is a deeper centre to this large anomaly, and that's what we've been targeting. And we have a planned hole there to do in the near future. 2 other deposits that we have, which are further along, Asia and Yannery. And you can see there with Asia some very good intersections, some of those 20-30 meters, over 1%, 2%, and so forth through there. and that extends down dip and remains open. It started at the surface, it's zinc rich at surface, never been exploited before, and becomes copper rich at depth. GRE is at surface and has historic workings there, and in our recent drilling there, we got some very nice supergene rich intersections there, and 21 meters at over 2% copper, and including 1 meter there at 23% copper. It sits on a hill, and you can see from that image there that unusually this target, which is well defined by the ground EM, it barely has any holes in it where it extends down dip. We don't have a resource there yet, but we intend to be drilling there in the near future as well to try and expand the known mineralisation so we can form a resource. Just to the left of that, you can see that's the Shelby EM response. It only has a singular hole, and it's still quite an interesting intersection there, 11 meters, over 1% copper. It's quite deep, okay, and it requires further investigation, but not in the near term while we're working on the other deposits. Next one, George. Okay, that's how the deposits string together. You see they're on a surface. This is the nature of these deposits. They form on the seafloor, the ancient seafloor, which is no longer flat. And these ones are spread out over a couple of kilometres. Next slide, George. Over the past, I guess since we listed, we've more than doubled the resources at for the Wandoo project. We're now close to 6.2 million tonnes. We started off with just 2.7 million tonne. So we hope to continue to grow that. We've instigated some high-level mining studies to help us with the targeting of our drilling, to ensure that we're not that we can grow the resource in the right places. And we also have resources, interestingly, up at Ruthwell, which is where our lithium project is, and we've grown that to 250,000 tonnes as well. So at 0.5% nickel. This is the Ruthwell project. As we see, there's quite numerous targets there that for us to test, several conductor plates, which we will be getting to testing when the opportunity arises, which is probably when we go in to drill the lithium project. Now, just on that tenement there, it doesn't mark our lithium pegmatite, but it's just a little bit on the north side of the tenement, essentially where that magnetic line runs through there. They're just going forward with our work programs, and our near-term and current focus will be on the Kobe lithium project. We're playing a little bit of catch-up there. We're starting from scratch, and we'll be doing further sampling, and we're getting assays as we go forward, and planning a drilling program maybe early the next quarter. So, but in the interim, we'll be also looking at drilling at Boston and Yannery.
Thanks very much, Tom. I'll grab this slide. That was a really great overview. I know it's really quick, everyone, but we're on limited time, and we're more than happy to answer questions moving forward. But from GreenTech's perspective, we're very excited about the future and what it holds for us. We've got this exciting Kobe lithium project, and it will only get bigger. We know that, as Tom suggested, there's quite a long strike length at this point, 7.5 kilometres. And of that, interestingly, 5 kilometres are continuous. So there's going to be some exciting drilling going on in the short term. We've got the Wandoo copper project, 6 million tonnes, just over 1% copper. And we know that's going to get bigger. We know with the targets we've got that have yet to be fully drilled, that resource will increase. So that's really exciting as well. Importantly, our copper resources on existing mining licenses, sorry. So that is a huge advantage. And as I suggested earlier, we're very close to Karratha, to the airport, to the logistics and everything that holds. To give you an idea, we're sitting on roughly $800 million worth of copper at current prices. So it is a bona fide project. We're looking at processing and development options as we speak. So we know that this thing will be a mine at some point in the future. We've got funding in place to be able to drive the next phase of exploration. So we're well set for this next phase of the company life. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a portfolio of commodities which are really hot at the moment: lithium, copper, nickel. These are driven by the battery metal and the electrification phase. So we know the demand is there and that will only increase. We've also got substantial exploration upside. So we know we can find more of all those three commodities, not to mention the other commodities that we have in our tenements. But those three commodities, we've got a huge amount of exploration upside. And as I suggested, importantly, we're close to various options for processing facilities. We're on granted mining licenses, so there is the potential fast track to production. So that's the end of the formal part of the story. There's some contact details there, which will be on our platform, so please feel free to reach out.
Thanks very much, George. So we'll stop sharing the screen now and open it up to Q&A. If you have a question, please feel free to type it into the Q&A feature down the bottom of the screen. And thank you to those who actually emailed them through in advance. I'll kick off with those. Tom, you walked us through your portfolio of projects, which consist of a variety of battery metals. Which is the company's main focus at the moment?
Look, although since our IPO, we've obviously been focused on our flagship Wandoo Copper Zinc project, over the past few months, since we've turned our, I guess, attention to looking for lithium, based off the back of the work done by Azure in the region. And we have managed to make a discovery. And because we're starting from scratch there, we're playing catch up a bit. We're trying to collect as much baseline information as we can, as quickly as we can. We're fortunate the nature of pegmatites is that they outcrop, and we're going to be very busy on that in the next couple of months, and with mapping, sampling as we set ourselves up for a maiden drilling program. But notwithstanding that, we will be progressing our Wandoo and some of the other lower order projects as we can, and so we do have plans for those as well. But we will have a focused small lithium team working only on that project.
Okay. And so you recently announced that you'd found more high-grade lithium at Ruthwell. And interestingly, Azure Metals, which has a roughly 630 million market cap, has a deposit in the same part of the trend as GreenTech. Matt has actually asked, can you comment on the prospectivity and potential scale of your lithium project?
Yeah, look, I guess to put some context around it, we do have Azure up the road, and we're not speculating that or saying that the two deposits are likely to be the same or similar or anything like that. The geology is slightly different. However, they're not that far apart. There's probably some relationship in terms of the style of why the mineralization is there. And but we're probably starting from a similar point that Azure started at, and we're very encouraged by the fact that we are getting grades along the entire length of our pegmatite outcrop, similar to those grades that Azure have been reporting, even from their drilling. Okay, grades are greater than 1% lithium oxide, and so that's very encouraging, and they're persistent, like I say, along the whole length of the pegmatite, and we've tracked this pegmatite now for about 7.5 kilometres. That's also very encouraging, because I think this provides ample scope for a large body to be contained within the pegmatite, be it at depth. And this is, in some ways what Azure is finding. With their big drill intercepts, they're not so much at surface, but they're at depth. Okay.
And we just had a question come through on the chat. What type of rig will be drilling out the lithium prospect? Do you know?
Look, initially we'll be going in with RC, But that's not necessarily always the best approach, but it's quick, and but we will be doing diamond drilling as well.
Okay. And George, I have a question for you from Sam, who's asked, there's been a lot of M&A activity in the Karratha region with SQM partnering with Azure. Have any majors approached GreenTech, or are you aware of any M&A interest from Australian and international groups?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, look, there's been approaches to GreenTech, and we have had discussions at a very, very early stage with a number of people. And I think, as I alluded to before, there are a lot of interested people in the region talking to a lot of different companies, and of course, GreenTech being one of them, because they're trying to shore up their long-term supply of this material, this commodity. The demand for electrification and battery requirements will only increase, and it's becoming more and more difficult for offtake partners and end users, in fact, to be able to secure their supply. So a lot of these larger companies like the SQMs, the larger motor vehicle companies are trying to do deals to shore up their supply. And it's something we'll explore and to see how that interest level develops. But yes, we are having various conversations.
Okay, makes sense. On the corporate side again, George, how will all of the exploration be funded? Do you have the cash and indeed the team in place to progress these projects?
Yeah, thank you. So at the moment, as I said before, we've got a little over $4 million in cash. We have an EGM coming up, which will see us raise another $1 million. So at $5 million, currently we're well positioned to be able to continue with the lithium exploration, as well as doing some more work at Wandoo. As Tom suggested, we've got that Obsidian Metals group coming in to assist us on the lithium aspect. So we'll have a dedicated team out there to be able to fully explore the Kobe lithium prospect. And our pre-existing Wandoo/copper team will continue their work at the Wandoo project. So with these two fully focused teams on the ground, we'll be able to really develop some good work, get that consistency of news flow, getting it out to market, and being able to develop these projects accordingly. So it's a good position to be in. Of course, as we go through and we spend more money on drilling, and as Tom suggested, diamond drilling coming up in the short term, and that's not cheap, but with the results that we hope to find that we anticipate, we'll go back to market as required. But for the moment, we're very comfortable with the position that we're currently in.
Okay, thanks, George. Tom, another one for you. George has texted in on the Q&A about, and do you expect to have the drilling permits granted, and what fieldwork programs does the company have coming up in coming weeks? Perhaps you could, as you touched on the growth pipeline in the presentation, could you outline the key news flow catalysts that are coming up?
Yes, look, I guess what we're doing, particularly on the lithium, is the groundwork, and this is a precursor to selecting the places where we want to initially drill. And in terms of that drilling, there's two processes to go through. Both of these are underway. First is getting the permits from the government to enable you to drill. And the second is to ensure that there are heritage clearances completed. And that's the second one. It usually takes a little bit longer, but than getting the POWs. But we would hope to have it all wrapped up within the next couple of months and be drilling, probably early in the next quarter, if not late this quarter. But that might be optimistic, but certainly early in the next quarter. We'll have, news flow out of that, obviously. And at the same time, not only focusing on Kobe pegmatite, but we are looking for repeats of that within our own tenement package. There may be others. I think we're now in a lithium pegmatite province. So there's likely to be others there as well.
Yeah, very exciting. I see that we're out of time. So, George, do you have any final parting words that you'd like to leave investors with today?
Yeah, thanks, Danica. Look, GreenTech's it's a well-positioned company. We're in a very battery-focused commodity sector with our lithium, our copper, our nickel. We were underexplored, so we know that we've got a huge amount of prospectivity on all those three commodities. And as Tom suggested on the lithium, within our own tenements, we might find other provinces that could add to our exploration targets. We're in a tier 1 mining jurisdiction. We're close to logistics. We've got focused teams. We're very confident for the success of GreenTech, and we're looking forward to bringing more news to market as it comes to hand.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Tom, for a very insightful presentation. Thank you to all shareholders and investors who joined the call today. As George said before, if you've got any further questions or we didn't get to your questions on this webinar, please feel free to email George's email address, which is in the presentation, or myself at danica@investability.com.au. So thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.